I'm getting started. Now, what's the difference? The difference is perspective. Perspective. So you and I must have perspective in life. You see, if you change your perspective, the vision becomes clearer. Let me use an example. Imagine both of us are standing in front of a 25-story building. On the ground level, let's assume we're going to travel from one place to another. On the ground level, we can see the streets, but we can't see too far because there are other buildings. If you and I decide to go into the elevator in the building, get into the lift, and go up to the 20th floor, and we look out the window on the 20th floor, from the 20th floor, if we imagine, now listen now, if we imagine that the car that was going to take us from where we were going to travel from, which is the building entrance, to our desired destination, if we assume that the car is still there, and to make it more interesting, we say, well, there are two cars. The first car is simply a driver, and he's going to drive from where he is to the destination simply by traveling in the direction that he thinks will be the fastest. As he travels along, whatever he encounters, traffic, obstructions, he'll deal with it. The second car has a driver, but the driver in the second car has a telephone, and you and I are communicating with the driver from the 20th floor. Our instructions to the driver are as follows. We say, travel 200 yards and turn left. The two drivers set off at the same time. One of them just goes straight down thinking, I'm going to get there as quickly as I can. Our driver turns left. We say to him, drive for about 2 minutes. When you get to the end of the junction, turn right. Now, to the driver, he's thinking, now something doesn't seem right here. It seems weird. But nonetheless, he follows our instructions. From the 20th floor, we can see better than the person who is driving in the first car because he can't see. Therefore, we have a better, what we call line of sight. So we can give instructions to the driver because maybe there's an obstruction, maybe the traffic lights are down, maybe it's a pedestrianized road, cars can't go that way. Because we can see further than the driver in the first car, one of the things that probably will happen is that our second driver will get to the destination quicker than the first driver. Why? Detours. We've been giving him instructions and we've been reorientating and changing his direction because we can see where the obstructions might be. That's what life does. Life, or nature, or the universe, or whatever you want to call it, cares about you. And in order for you to achieve what you want, the universe tries to protect you. And it has a funny way of protecting you. Sometimes it can do it very gently. Sometimes it can do it in a way that is less gentle. But the universe prefers the first approach, which is the gentle approach. Many times, or in many a case, we don't listen. So the universe will use people, maybe to communicate with you, to say, I don't think you should do this. And sometimes we don't listen. The universe will use something else, maybe a hunch, and we don't listen. The inner voice within us will try to speak to us, and sometimes we don't listen. And it gets to a point where the universe says, you know what, if I don't help, something bad could happen. Therefore, they're not ready for this particular dream. Because you have to be deserving of the goal to be worthy of the goal. Remember this, achieving a goal is the secondary aspect of focus. You must ask yourself first, who do I have to become to be worthy of achieving the goal? Now forgive me, I'm going to drink some water. once you've developed the character, and that's the reason why my father always said, disappointments develop character. Because to be deserving of the goal, you must have a character of the kind of person who is worthy of achieving the goal. Therefore, the universe will try in many ways to help you form and forge your character. I'm going to use an example here that might probably be a little bit easier to understand. Let's use the concept of a seed. There is an ancient saying that goes as follows. It says, unless a grain falls into the ground and dies. Or you might use the word seed. Let's use seed because it's a little bit easier to conceptualize. Until a seed falls into the ground and dies, it remains alone. But if it falls into the ground and dies, it brings much fruit. It's a very easy concept to understand. You take a seed. If I take a seed, let's say an orange seed, for example, and I put on a table, on a marble table, and I just let it stay there. After 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, that seed will wither and die. On the other hand, if I took that seed and put that seed in soil. Now, I want to explain disappointments using the concept of sowing and reaping. You dig up the soil and you put the seed in the soil and then you cover the soil. Now, in the same way, to someone who is thinking logically, it doesn't make sense. What makes sense would be, well, if you want to grow a seed, you put it maybe on a nice tabletop. You put it in a nice environment, maybe where there's sunlight. You put it maybe where you might put some moisture and some rain every now and then. That is the logical thing where you think it should be easy. Just put it in a nice environment. However, nature says no. If you want the seed to bring forth fruit, if you want the seed to become the best that it can be, you've got to go through the soil. You must be willing to bury the seed, which means it feels as if you're killing the seed. You put it in soil and then you cover it. Now, you're thinking the seed can't breathe. Well, you can use the same reference to relate to you and I. Whenever we go through a challenging time, you might be like, I can't breathe, it's overwhelming. Well, by putting the seed in the soil, what you find is that it stays there. You suffocate the seed, and after a few days, what you find is actually the seed breaks its bark. It breaks. That's character. You're developing character now. You're developing the muscles. It breaks, then it starts to grow. It starts to push itself through the soil. Now, this is just a small seed, but it has to fight its way out from the soil. And it fights until it gets to the surface, and suddenly you see a sapling, a small part of the seed pops out. It's free. But to go from where it was up until atmosphere, it had to push. It had to struggle. But in doing that, it's developing the muscles, the temperament, the resilience, the positive attitude, the experience, the patience. Is developing character. It pops out and suddenly it starts to grow. Now here's what's interesting. It grows, and from that one seed, you have a tree with other seeds. So the same orange seed that was just one suddenly becomes a tree full of oranges, and in each of those oranges, you have multiple seeds. And if you continue that process, you have an orange orchid, all from one seed. You see, character is developed in the crisis. Character is developed through disappointments, through failures, through setbacks. So you and I have to welcome every experience. I'm going to end by making a recommendation. What I wish my father had taught me was that character is developed and strengthened and chiseled through disappointments. But it's not just the case of going through disappointments. You have to, now listen now, this is beautiful. You have to be willing to start by, you come out from where you are, you go into the disappointments, you go through the disappointments, and then you come into the person that you are deserving, who is deserving of the goal. Let me say that in a different way. Your past, your present, your future. Whatever disappointments you've had in the past, you needed those to help you become the kind of person that you are today. Now think about this. The person you are today is not the person you were 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago. You've grown. You've changed. Some of that change and growth came as a result of experiences. Some of those experiences weren't the best. So you must see yourself as journeying from your past. The disappointments are the present. You have to go through the present to get into the future. Now, one of the best, in my opinion, I think anyway, one of the best quotes or statements ever made was made by Martin Luther King. We all know I have a dream. Beautiful, exceptional. It sends chills down my body. But he has another one. I think it was his last speech before he was assassinated. And he said, and I quote, now I'm going to paraphrase this, but I think it's worth, if you haven't heard this, I think it's probably just worth searching because it will touch you. There's something about the quote and the statement that just, it gets you excited. He said, "It doesn't matter anymore." Now, whenever you start a conversation or statement with "it doesn't matter anymore" or "it doesn't matter right now," what you're simply saying is, you can't stop me. My mind is fixed. I'm going to achieve that goal. He said, "It doesn't matter anymore." He says, "I've been to the mountaintop and I've seen the promised land." And he said, although you can't see it, now he's giving this speech to a group of people. He says, although you can't see it, I've seen it. And it doesn't matter what's going to happen to me now. I don't care if I lose my life. Now, whenever you meet someone who's willing to die for his convictions, or meet someone who's willing to die for her convictions, her dreams and her goals, heaven, the heavens and the universe and life and nature will move mountains to give you what you want. Because they will probably say, "Do you know what? She's never going to give up. He's never going to give up on this dream." So it doesn't matter what disappointments come. They're going to take it. Build character. It's like Pac-Man. As you gobble up on the disappointment, you get bigger, you get stronger. So the more it comes, life says, "You know what? Let's just give him or her what they want," because they understand that they have to develop character to achieve their goals. So my suggestion to you is this. Welcome every experience. Welcome disappointments. I'll end with this statement. Welcome every experience, but more importantly, learn from every experience. To do things over and over again and not get a different outcome, we call it insanity. And there are many people in life who go through life, failures upon failure, upon failure, upon failure, and no improvement. Now something is wrong. I said earlier on that we don't fail life's test. We just take it over and over again. And life just hopes that you're listening and that you will just stop and ask, what's wrong? Now, there's something that I would have wished I could remember. I don't have it with me, but it's a poem, and it's by a lady who says, I'm going to try and paraphrase it, but the essence of the poem is this. I wake up, I walk down the street, there's a pothole in the middle of the road, I fall into the pothole, I look around, I'm angry, I'm upset. The next day, I get up, I walk down the street, I fall into the pothole again for the second time. This time around, I'm furious. I find my way out. Day number 3, I get up, I walk down, I know there's a pothole, but as I walk towards the pothole, I get to the pothole, I step in, this time intentionally. I get angry. Day number 4, I get up, I remember that there's a pothole, I walk, I get to the pothole, I walk around the pothole, I don't fall in, and I go my way. Day number 5, I wake up, I get up, I walk down a different street. That's what life is asking us to do. You see, when you have a disappointment, it's feedback. Get the feedback. Get the feedback. Hidden in every adversity is an opportunity of equal or greater benefit. So whenever you have a disappointment, whenever you have a crisis, whenever you have failure or feedback, stop and ask yourself, what am I not seeing? Or what is nature trying to teach me? What do I need to learn from the experience? Now, when you learn from the experience, you've begun what we call the journey of personal development. And you want to, in a way, have a mindset that says, you know what, every day I wake up, I'm going to live, I'm going to love, I'm going to listen to nature and to the people around me, I'm going to learn. So whenever disappointments come, you just simply say, this is time to learn. This is time to listen. Welcome the disappointment. Learn from it. Course correct. That's very important. Meaning, change your approach. Now think about this. Everyone that I mentioned today, Thomas Edison, Lincoln, Michael Jordan, Albert Einstein, KFC's founder, Colonel Sanders, every time they had a feedback, they course corrected. They had to change something. You just adjust slightly. You adjust. In archery, there's a word they call sin. So if you aim at a target and you miss the target, they said one sin, meaning you've missed the mark. What you have to do then is course correct, change, adjust, readjust, and try again. You sin again, you readjust. You try again. Boom, you hit the bullseye. You're excited. But you have to learn the journey. And the process of recalibrating and changing and adjusting is how you develop character. So, if you want to develop your character, you cannot do it without experiences. And experiences, you don't get to choose. You can't say, do you know what, I just want everything to be positive. No, you can't do that, because life is a dance. It's the dance between order and chaos, and uncertainty and certainty. It's the dance between disappointment and excitement and euphoria and sadness. There is time for everything under the sun. Welcome every experience. So, lesson number 3, what I wish my father taught me was that every disappointment carries with it a seed of equal or a seed of greater benefit, a seed that begins the process of developing your character, a seed that must be understood, must be studied, must be buried, meaning you're going to have to be willing to simply say to yourself, I'm willing to pay the price. So I don't mind going through the fire. And by doing that, what you find is that you develop the character needed, but even more importantly, how you do anything in life is how you do everything. Therefore, by developing a character in one particular area of life, what you find very quickly is that it starts to evolve and move into other areas of your life. So if you want to become the person that you admire, you must be willing to welcome experiences, and more importantly, See failure as feedback. See it as a stepping stone. Don't see it as a stumbling block. Disappointments are not there to stop you. They're there to help you move up to higher ground. So you step over, you step on, and you move from one destination to another. It's very similar to like a ladder on a building. How do you climb up a ladder? Well, you don't just step on one and stay there. You step on one level, you move your leg to the next, you move to the next, you move to the next, and suddenly you're moving up, and you're moving up and up and up. But the only way you move up and up and up is that you need skills. You need wisdom. And skills and wisdom or knowledge, the way you can look at it is like the two sides. So you step on this one, you change, you step, you change. In the same way, disappointment and failure work in the same way. One disappointment, you learn from it. Next one, you learn from it. Next, you learn from it. And suddenly, you find that you are at the top of the building or at the top of the mountain. Now, I hope that has been useful. As you would imagine, there are some disappointments. I should probably end by saying this, that you and I would never have an explanation to why it's happened. For example, if you lose a loved one. For example, if you lose the love of your life, the person could still be alive, but you've lost the relationship. Perhaps you lose your resources. Always remember this. One of the worst things you can ever have is self-pity. Get up, dust yourself up, and try again.